In today's video, we're going to be checking out the Diamond Select Batman, the animated series premiere collection, Almost Got 'Em, Poison Ivy resin statue. This 12-inch scale resin statue of Poison Ivy is based on her appearance in the Batman animated series episode Almost Got 'Em. It's limited to a very small quantity of 3,000 pieces worldwide, comes included with a certificate of authenticity, and is sculpted by Claiborne Moore. Here's the certificate of authenticity. It comes included with Poison Ivy. This is an authentic Diamond Select Toys release of Batman the Animated Series premiere collection, Almost Got 'Em, Poison Ivy resin statue sculpted by Claiborne Moore. The number would be here out of the limited release of 3,000 copies, which also would match the number that's featured on the underside of the base. The base also has 4 felt feet, so when you are displaying her, it won't scratch any of the surfaces. Almost Got 'Em is actually one of my favorite Batman animated series episodes. I love the idea of these supervillains sitting around a table, each telling stories about how they almost killed the Bat. With Poison Ivy's story, it takes place during Halloween, and she's rigged a whole bunch of pumpkins with her Poison Ivy gas. As for the base and the way that the figure is displayed, you can see that she is displayed standing among many of her tainted poison gas pumpkins, carved here as jack-o'-lanterns, glowing very nicely here in almost an off green, clearly indicating that there's something slightly off with these carved pumpkins. I do like the detailing that's been added to the pumpkins, where they've given it a slight darker orange, darker brown around the little gapped or a little sunken in areas of the pumpkin itself. It really gives it that sense of age. The texturing is very limited here, just to what appears to be kind of a dirt bottom base, or amongst the field in which Batman is pursuing Poison Ivy. The base is very heavy, and the figure itself is fixed to the statue, the base itself, so you can't take the figure off. The base also has a really nice decorative, almost brown, dark brown color, which I think is a good complementary color to the pumpkins and the ground. And it's been given kind of a gold trim that carries all the way around the bottom of the base. What we are looking at here, though, is an artist proof, so some of the initial paint applications may vary from the one you may be getting in the store. One of the things I do notice about the statue that we're looking at right now is if you look at it comparing it to the certificate of authenticity, the coloring in which that statue's been painted here almost comes across a little bit more like a darker black or a very, very dark green. Whereas, of course, in the episode and even in the certificate of authenticity, she comes across a little bit more like she's wearing her traditional greens. Maybe a shade or two darker, but she's still wearing the more traditional greens. Here, the statue does come across like it's a little bit more closer to black, in all honesty. From the way that the figure is standing, she's slightly got an arched bent leg and a very straight leg behind that. She's also holding one of the jack-o'-lanterns in her hand. As you can see, that is emitting some of the poisonous gas. Face sculpt, I think, is pretty good. I do think, though, that it's slightly too dark. More so probably around the eye area. The shading around the eye seems like it's a little too dark. Now again, this may not be the one that you're going to be getting in the comic stores if you do pick this statue up for yourself, because it does seem, if you look at the certificate of authenticity, it does look like it's going to be a little bit lighter in shading. It just so happens that, much like the Catwoman that we already had a look at, the shading, I think, is just a little bit too dark here. But again, this is just the artist proof. This is kind of a pre-release statue. The face sculpt is actually quite pretty, favoring a little bit more of a serious look to her as opposed to a playful look here on Poison Ivy. Her skin is also very tanned. Now that may not necessarily be the case for the actual retail releases, but I do notice that this particular statue does resonate very much a darker, kind of darker shade of tan. She does have her bare feet there. I do like the fact that her foot is slightly arched, standing only on her tippy toes, while the other foot is very flatly placed on the dirt base here. Hair sculpt I also quite like. It's very simplistic, not overly detailed, just exactly like how she appears in the show itself. A very vibrant orange, slightly a different orange, of course, than the pumpkin that she's holding in her hand and the pumpkins on the bases. Paint, though, again, don't really have any issues with the paint. Maybe I would say that the shading of both her outfit and her face are slightly dark, but again, that's not going to be necessarily the statue when you get her in these stores. This is just so happens to be a little bit of a darker initial design of the piece. I actually think that the statue looks quite good on a slight angle rather than front forward, face forward. She does still look good, but I think she actually looks better slightly on an angle where you're only really seeing maybe half of her face. I mean, that is a fantastic looking pose, and I really think I might favor when I'm displaying her, not slightly like this, but closer maybe to something like this. The one thing I really also quite like about Diamond Select when it comes to their statues is they kind of have two categories of statues. They have the Premier Collection, which these statues are more to the $100 price point, and they're definitely a much more heavier piece. And then they have the more PVC sort of statues that are much more closer to about a $25 to $35 price point. It allows collectors like myself to gauge right away the entryway in which they want to start collecting statues. They can either go with the more higher end premium statues that we're looking at right now, or you can again go for the more lesser, not lesser grade, but certainly lesser cost PVC statues if you maybe want to go that route of collecting their statues. This statue is a combination of things I quite like. Batman the Animated Series is one of my favorite all-time cartoon series. Almost Got Him is actually one of my favorite episodes from that series, and I'm a big fan of Halloween, which you probably already know that. Collectively, put those all two together, all those three things together, and you got a really great looking statue. Again, this is the artist-proof release of this statue, so this may not necessarily be exactly how it looks like if you pick this up in comic book stores for yourself. I can definitely see, much like the Catwoman, that the shading seems slightly darker on this than what we're looking at here, for example, on the box. The box has a lighter shade of green or a lighter shade of black, closer to a dark green than what we are seeing here with the black. The shading also in the eyes look like they could have been slightly tweaked, and again, that might be just by nature of the fact that this is an artist proof rather than the actual retail release. I like the pose of Poison Ivy. I like the fact that she's also got the pumpkin in her hand, and I think she's got a really great display base incorporating the 3 carved jack-o'-lanterns. This is really a great looking piece, shy of only a few little nitpicks that I could make, but again, a lot of that I could chalk up maybe just to the fact that the paint on mine might slightly vary from the one that you may be picking up for yourself. Speaking of which, picking up for yourself, the Poison Ivy from the Batman episode Almost Got Him is now currently available at comic book stores. One thing I can say is if you don't find this one in your particular stores, you can also ask the person that works there as well. They'd be happy to order it in for you. It usually takes a couple of weeks or so. I've done it myself, and then you can go into the store and pick it up when it finally arrives. For Batman fans, Halloween fans, and Poison Ivy fans, you might want to add this one to your collection. Today we are having a look at the Diamond Select Toys Batman the Animated Series Premier Collection. This was from the Batman Animated Series episode Almost Got Him. And today we were having a look at the Poison Ivy resin statue. If you guys would like to check out some more Diamond Select statues, by all means head over to my playlist where I've had a look at previous statues here on this channel. You can watch those at your viewing pleasure. If you guys also haven't had a chance to subscribe to this channel, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down below. Of course, many more videos will be coming your way, including other statues as well. Thanks for watching as you always do, guys. I'll see you next time.